This
Yeah,
conference will now be recorded.
just before we get started, if everyone that's not talking could mute, just so we don't have any audio interruptions, then we're good to go.
All right, I'll go ahead and call us to order. Mallory, would you do the roll call for us, please?
Yes, let me pull up the list we have here. All right, we have Jeremy Bryant, Catherine Gamble,
Present.
Sarah Carter,
Here.
Johnny Rourke, Gary Schanneberger, Mariel Fowler,
Here.
Mary Zirkle, Paul Harvey,
Here.
Sharon Williams,
Here.
Russell Thurston, Lee Newland. Ada, could you remind me of the change for I know Ann Nygaard is being temporarily.
Yeah, that's Tom Martin. He's here.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to have you, Tom.
Brian Booth. I see you there. I think you're muted, but I do see you. Thank you. Rick Youngblood. Daniel Sonenklar.
Present.
Kevin Jones. Andrew Lagala. I do see you. I don't think.
Present.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Present.
And Todd Carroll. All right, that's the list that I have for you all.
All right, thank you. Next item is to approve our minutes from the March meeting. Are there any comments or corrections on the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Next, Ada, you have the Urban and Rural Work Program.
Yes, sir. Let me just pull up my screen here. Okay. So I know last time we went over the work programs, and I won't bore you to walk through them again, but there is one change that I wanted to make you aware of and make sure everyone's comfortable with before we go forward with bringing this to a vote. So the only thing that has changed is that last time we hadn't realized that we would have some extra funds available in the rural portion of the work program. So we're proposing a rural flood impact project, which would essentially be based off the PDC's hazard mitigation plan that many of you have been involved in. That was most recently done. So essentially, we'd like to just work with localities, VDIM and VDOT to evaluate the potential need for vehicle rerouting in emergency situations. We've definitely identified the vulnerable roads. So going forward, just coming out of this project with a set of recommendations for localities to use as a basis for either mitigation projects or just simply, emergency management rerouting in the future. So it's not a huge change, but since we had some funds left over, we thought that this would be a good project and kind of fit in with some of the other work that the PDC is doing. So if we did go forward with that, this is kind of what the rural work program would look like. The top two program administration lines haven't changed. And then here we just have this rural flood impact project at 12,000. So it would probably be an ongoing project for the next few years, considering how many roads there are and how impactful and helpful the localities think that it is. But this just feels like a good starting point to make sure that our region is less vulnerable, especially our roads. So other than that, any changes that were made to the work program were really minor. We the city had some recommendations to change the wording from alternative transportation to active transportation, which we felt like was a good change, just to, you know, remind people that they can use both modes and they don't have to be so split. But other than that, that's pretty much all that has changed in the work program. So it is attached in your agenda packet as well. So you can see the whole thing and, you know, but at this point, I think as long as everyone's comfortable going forward, we'd like to bring to a vote to approve both the rural and urban work programs. And then they'll be presented to the TPO board next week at their meeting.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns? If not, is anybody ready to make a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the recommendation is made. Ada, I believe you have the next item as well, tip amendment.
Yes, thank you very much for that. So we have two tip related kind of agenda items here today. So we have two sets of recommendations. The first set is an actual proposed tip amendment. So DRPT has proposed the following adjustments to the tip, which include just increasing funding for, these are both paratransit service providers in the region, the Central Virginia Alliance for Community Living and Lutheran Family Services. You know, we had kind of gotten advance notice of these in the past, that these agencies were seeking funding from DRPT. So, I mean, it wouldn't come out of any of the PDC or TPO money. These are just other allocations. So this will be, because it's an amendment, it requires a 30-day public comment period, which we actually began as soon as we got notice of these on March 15th, so that we had enough time for the TPO board to have a public hearing at that time. So I suppose that at this point we would like the TTC just to vote on whether they recommend moving it to the TPO board. So the TPO board is the one that really has to approve it, but I guess we want to vote to make sure that the TTC is comfortable moving forward with it.
All right, would someone like to make a motion to recommend?
So moved.
And a second?
Second, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? And motion's carried. And Ada, I believe you have the next item as well, census.
Well, we're still on the tip one. So that was the first of the tip recommendations. So this is a tip amendment. And then after this, we have some information to share here about some tip adjustments. So it's our policy that TPO staff is able to make some minor adjustments to the tip without board recommendation, approval, adoption either. So this wouldn't require a public comment period and doesn't require any TTC action. I just wanted to bring it forth so that everyone knows what's happening and we're not making changes without everyone being informed. So GLTC had requested that we made some adjustments to their funding streams. You know, some money was moved around, but overall amounts weren't changed. And we just moved things from flexible STP funding to either state funds or FTA 5339. So that's more of just an informational bit for your information and transparency purposes.
Okay.
So if there's no questions about that, yeah.
No questions? All right. Moving on to the next item then.
Okay, so this is another just item for your information. So basically the census is proposing a few changes to how they quantify urbanized areas. So this is a list of the proposed changes. And at this point, we haven't necessarily completely figured out what this will mean for our region. The main thing that we're concerned about in this criteria is that the change would no longer include low density hop or skip or jump corridors in the urban area. So essentially places like, you know, Madison Heights, for example, could be impacted. We're still working on coming up with a GIS analysis, and Philip is kind of leading this, but he is on vacation right now. So we're just giving you a heads up about this. We'll talk more about it in the next meetings when we can figure out a little bit more what it'll mean for all the localities. But the deadline for comments on this is in May. So I just wanted to bring it forth now so that by the next meeting, when we have more of a understanding of what's happening, we all can be prepared. And if we have more information or more action that we recommend before that, we'll definitely send out an email or some other notification. But I would definitely encourage folks to look into what this means for your locality. And like I said, we'll share more information as it becomes available, but just wanted to put you in the know. Other than that, I think we're at the end of my agenda items, but there are just a few housekeeping things that I wanted to bring up in the meantime. At the bottom of the agenda, you'll see that there's a few webinars coming up, one for revenue sharing, one for TA applications. It's highly recommended by our VDOT partners that if you're going to apply for TA this time around, that you attend that workshop. We also will attend. And that being said, if you have any TA applications that you're considering that you'd like help on, you know, now would be a good time for us to start talking about that. So, you know, we'd be happy to help. Just be thinking about what kind of applications you want, and definitely take advantage of those webinars if you're able to. Next housekeeping item is that we'd really like to have a planner's lunch. The last one we did back in somewhere in the end of 2020, can't remember now. So we're thinking May for the time frame for that, but if folks are, you know, have any conflicts or if there's big deadlines that we're not considering in May, then, you know, please let us know. We'll probably send out a survey in the next few weeks figuring out how many people would be comfortable with a May timeframe and what day, and also whether we'll do a hybrid format again or go all in person. So I know I'm spewing a lot of information at you all at once, sorry. But last but not least, the TPO and the PDC boards this month will be meeting in a hybrid format. You'll probably be receiving those agendas today, or the folks from your locality that are on those boards. But I think for now, considering the size of the group of the TPO, it's probably, I mean, of the TTC, it's probably best to keep this meeting electronic for the time being, and we can reassess whether we move to a hybrid format in the future. But right now it's a little bit difficult to have enough space for everyone to social distance and such with such a large group, but those other boards are much smaller. So unless anyone has a strong feeling that we need to get back in person, we're going to keep moving along with this for a little bit longer. So I know that was a lot. Thank you for listening.
Are there any other matters from the committee? Ada, are we likely to need a meeting in May? I know I have a conflict with that date.
Well, the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head would be the census changes, but we may send something out prior to that anyway, and I'm not sure that the TTC would have to have any action. So I don't know at this point. If nothing else comes about, I don't know that it would warrant a meeting, but I can't think right now.
Okay.
Hey, Ada, quick
Yep.
question. Can you send this census proposed changes to me?
Yes. I will
Awesome.
send it out to everyone because I think it's actually, I'll send out, there was a webinar that we went to recently that I think would be helpful. So I'll send that out, this list, and also where you can submit comments to. You know, so far we've kind of seen different iterations of how this could play out, and there's a lot of opinions, but not a lot of straight fact from the census yet. So, you know, before we make any harsh determinations, we just want to make sure that we have all the information and can work with our federal and state partners to figure out what's happening.
Sure. I know we've been waiting for that, so that'll be helpful to
Yeah.
have. Appreciate it.
definitely.
All right, any other matters? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
In a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye.